Welcome to Meet the Candidates Forum for the candidates for the August 9th primary election of Mayor of Columbia Heights. The two top vote getters in this election will be on the ballot in the general election on November 8th. Hello, I'm Kathy Tinglestead of the Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids Area League of Women Voters, and we're sponsoring to Meet the Candidates. I live in Coon Rapids, so I don't have an opportunity to vote for any of these candidates. All candidates were invited to this forum, and there are just the three running for the one position of mayor. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political parties or candidates for office. The League does help citizens become informed voters, advocates for important reasons on important issues. This forum is about informing voters, and actually we have quite the informed voters already because they submitted over 101 questions, and we'll just be doing basically a handful of those today, kind of representative of the different areas that were submitted. If you're interested in the League, visit our website, and it's abbreviation of our name, League of Women Voters, Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids, Minnesota.org, so LWV ABC MN.org. We have women, men, and young people are invited to join our League group. The candidates will answer two introductory questions, one at a time, which they did receive in advance, and those will be followed by the questions that were submitted from the public via our website, and questions of importance to the League of Women Voters. And then we'll end with a 60-second closing statement from each of the candidates. Answers for the first two questions are limited to 90 seconds and 1 minute for everything else. Candidates will take turns, will rotate, and they drew numbers for the initial start here. So we're welcoming these three mayoral candidates, and they are, in the order that they will speak, Mike Ahrens, Cliff Johnson, and Amáda, Márquez, Simula. And so we'll start then with Mike. And the first question for 90 seconds is, what is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Well, the plain, simple answer as to why I decided to run is because for about 20-some years, I lived off and on in the city, pretty much grew up in the area. I've seen some changes that could be avoided, that could be helped, and I believe with my experience with the city, especially with the high school, being part of a couple of the sports team, I believe with that experience I can help make the city be a home for everyone. It's been a home to me, like I said, for 20-some years. I want to make sure it's a home for everyone else.
Okay, great. And moving on then to the second candidate for this evening, Cliff Johnson. Same question. What's your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you serve effectively?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. My motivation comes from seeing the issues the city has being played out on a daily basis. I live in a neighborhood with a high concentration of rental properties. I see lots of garbage problems, not enough garbage cans that are not covered, huge piles of garbage left at the end of the month, grass that's not been cut, snow that's not been plowed, sidewalks that have not been shoveled, as a few examples. I feel that everyone deserves a clean, decent, safe place to live, and these are all problems that can be rectified with the proper focus. My experience as a board member of an HOA will be very helpful, as we have many of the same issues. It's like managing a small city. My experience with having such a long history with the city will also be very beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to our third candidate, the incumbent, Amáda, Márquez, Simula, 90 seconds. And the question again is, what is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you serve effectively?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this. My name is Amáda Márquez Simula. I am the incumbent running for mayor of Columbia Heights. And before I answer the question, I just want to acknowledge that Columbia Heights is located on stolen Anishinaabe Dakota land. I believe in honoring the truth, integrity, and authenticity. I am the only candidate that strives for equity and equality. I fight nepotism, and I'm committed to representing everyone. We're one of the most diverse cities in Minnesota, and I'm the city's first elected person of color, and representation matters. I don't wait for concerns to come to me. I hold regular meetings with organizers and faith leaders, business owners across many cultures. I have insights and leadership experience that makes me uniquely positioned to continue serving as your mayor. I'm the only candidate who knows how to get things done by leveraging the talents of our city staff, organizations, and community volunteers. Before I was elected, I was a Columbia Heights Adult Enrichment Senior Program Manager. I worked with adults and seniors and families, making sure that adults have opportunities to connect. I worked at our city in the Public Works Department and was instrumental in setting up our curbside compost program. And I was and still a board member of several nonprofits, including the Fridley Columbia Heights Rotary Club and our local nonprofit Heights Next. As a mayor who connects with other elected officials in our region, I'm an active member of the Regional Council of Mayors, where I've led presentations on race equity and transportation.
Thank you. We'll move on to the second question, and we'll rotate with Cliff Johnson starting this time. Cliff, what are your goals for Columbia Heights' future?
Some of the goals, not all of them I have here, but some of them are strengthening the city's management of residential rental properties that we have in the city. Again, everyone deserves a decent, clean, and safe place to live. I'd also concentrate on improving our vendor services, such as garbage and recycling. Everybody in the city can see that we have a problem with those right now. I would like to reinforce in getting a better vendor that would take care of the business that needs to be taken care of. I want to improve public safety within the city, police, fire, etc., including traffic safety. If we address these issues, I feel we can attract more business to the city. Thank you.
Thanks. And that same question to Amáda, Márquez, Simula. What are your goals for Columbia Heights' future?
Thank you. My goal is to bring the community's voice into action. We want a city that's safe, vibrant, welcoming, inclusive, a home for everyone. Yeah, I hear a lot of requests for more grocery store options or skateboard parks, soccer fields, or community center, but we'll need to work on our budget, see where we can go with these ideas. We need to make our budget reflect our values. My current priorities are addressing residential concerns, including housing and supporting renters and landlords, supporting local businesses. It's harder than ever to run a business in today's economy with the pandemic as it is as well. So I will continue to promote and meet with business owners and employees. And then public safety, including supporting our new embedded community social workers at our police department, and then working towards safety improvements along high traffic streets like Central Avenue.
Thank you. And same question for 90 seconds from Mike Ahrens. What are your goals for Columbia Heights' future?
My goals are pretty much shared with the current mayor and Mr. Johnson as far as public safety. I would like to work with the police department to try to add some more bodies on each shift to, help with that. Also, I would like to work with current and future businesses to help cost affection for the city to be able to provide like skate parks and other kind of fun activities for the locals and neighboring cities to enjoy, and to help make cost-effective living for both landlords and the tenants, so neither one can go bankrupt trying to have a roof over their head.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to the questions that were submitted online. And like I mentioned, there was 101 of them, and so we will not get to all of them, although I do encourage citizens to individually contact the candidates to have their individual questions answered. So with rotating, we're going to start here with Amáda, Márquez, Simula, and the first general question is, what differentiates you from the other two candidates for mayor?
I moved to Columbia Heights 9 years ago and immediately got involved and became a neighborhood block captain, working through the police department. I joined our new nonprofit Heights Next startup and started doing many events in town. So I've met a lot of people as they're doing their volunteer work and becoming a part of the community. I haven't really had much of a chance to meet Mike or Cliff yet, so just as much as I've seen on their website, but I don't really have a way to answer the question too much of what makes us different. Based on what I've heard, we all want better things for our community.
Okay, thank you. And so with that same question then, Mike Ahrens, what differentiates you from the other two candidates for mayor?
You know, like the mayor said, we pretty much want the same thing. What makes us different, truth be told, the mayor has more experience, obviously, being in her position, and Mr. Johnson, with his experience with HOAs. The only thing that I can reiterate is the fact that I volunteered my free time with the sports teams when I was a student through Columbia Heights Public Schools, and I'm not sure if they did anything with their school, you know, but I think, I don't know, we're all different in our own way, and again, we want pretty much the same thing. So I guess there's nothing too much different about us.
Okay, thank you. Cliff Johnson, same question. What differentiates you from the other two candidates for mayor?
Thank you. I think that I don't know who's been here the longest. I've been involved in the city for a long time. I was attended the school system from 1 through 12, a graduate of Columbia Heights High School. I bought my parents' home where I lived and lived in there for another 13 years. Been around the community a long time. My job transferred me out for a while, came back, lived in some other suburbs for a while. Then we just purposely decided to move back into Columbia Heights because we really liked the area and we missed it. The only other thing I can think of that would differentiate me from the other two opponents is I've been a residential housing landlord for 20 years. So I know what it takes to be a good landlord, and I can spot a bad one. I've got a lot of experience in that particular area, and I'd like to be able to share that with the city as a mayor. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to the next questions that were submitted, and we'll start this time with Mike Ahrens. And lots of different questions about public safety, and this one's a little bit longer, but bear with me here. The current city charter stipulates that the mayor holds the executive authority over the Columbia Heights Police Department with sole hiring and firing power of the police chief. All other city departments are under the authority of the city manager. Would you support changing the charter to put the city manager in charge of all departments, including the police? Why or why not?
I think, in my opinion, it is a little too much authority for one person to hold. I think, in my opinion, what would be more efficient is if it was a committee decision to fire a police chief, hire a new one, get together and give negative and positive reasons as to why we should fire this one and then hire this one to replace him. I think, if we're going to make that kind of a change, that's the kind of change I would make.
Okay, thank you. Cliff Johnson, I'll just read the last part of it again, related to public safety and the authority over the police chief. Would you support changing the city charter to put the city manager in charge of all departments, including police? Why or why not?
Thank you. As far as this question is concerned, I believe keeping it as it is currently now, with the mayor being in charge of that. I believe this issue was on a referendum at some time not too long ago, and the city turned it down and wanted the mayor to keep control of the chief of police. So I think the city has spoken on that issue. The city manager, she does a great job. She's a really great person. I just don't like having all the control of everything under one person who's not an elected official. I will never, if that's the way people vote, we take another vote, and that's the way the city wants to go, then I'm fine with that too. But the way it is now, I'm perfectly comfortable with leaving it as is. Thank you.
Thanks. And that same question now to Amáda Márquez Simula. I'll just read that last part. Would you support changing the charter to put the city manager in charge of all departments, including police? Why or why not?
Thank you. It's kind of a funny question for me to answer since that's currently what I'm doing. But I believe that that it is going well as it is now. But at the same time, I also agree with Mike and with Cliff. I think have an opportunity for more people to make the decision. I don't see the harm in that. And also, it was on the ballot, I think, 4 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, and the community did vote to keep it with the mayor. I think I would like to hear more information from the public how they would feel about changing it.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the next question, and this one is also specific to the mayor, and we'll start this one with Cliff Johnson. So the person who submitted this question says that as of May of this year, the mayor has issued 32 proclamations over the last 2 years, I guess, 18 in 2021 and 14 in 2022. Would you continue that practice, and if not, why not?
Thank you. As far as the proclamations are concerned, it is the mayor's prerogative to do those as they see fit. I myself would probably not do very many at all. I don't feel that it's my position to shine a spotlight and pick and choose who gets to do that. I would rather just keep mine strictly to like honoring a previous employer or an employee of some kind, or a public service like a policeman or a fireman or some that kind of proclamation that someone has went above and beyond the service and been an excellent contributor to our city. So in that answer, I would probably not do nearly as many, but I can't say I wouldn't do any. Thank you.
Thanks. And so that same question, Amáda Márquez Simula, since you are the mayor who has done these proclamations, do you plan to continue that practice? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. And the reason is that I think it's a great honor to take a moment and shine a light and reflect on our community. And I have invited the people who receive the proclamations to our council meetings. We have a small reception, and they have an opportunity to bring their families and receive acknowledgement that, for instance, I did one for acknowledging our healthcare workers. And it meant so much to them, and not just for the 4 people who came to receive them, people who live here in Columbia Heights, but to their families to know that someone took the time to acknowledge all the work they've done through this pandemic. So whenever I have an opportunity to take a light and shine sort of the admiration Columbia Heights has for our community members and everyone that makes the city the way it is, I will definitely take that opportunity.
Okay, same question. Mike Ahrens. As of May of this year, there's been 32 proclamations over the last 2 years. Will you continue that practice? And if not, why not?
With that amount, I don't think I would make that many, especially in only 2 year time. I would have to actually sit down and really observe what it is that I'm proclaiming to recognize. I'm not going to do it just because, Mr. Clifton here has been, part of HOA for how many years? 5 years. And he's done excellent work with making sure that that area is clean. Congratulations on that. But is it worth it? Depends on opinion. So I would have to have a committee, I guess you can say, to help me decide what the proclamation will be for and why.
Okay, thank you. Next question relates to business issues in the city of Columbia Heights, and there's actually probably at least 10 questions submitted related to revitalization, what's going on with the city as far as redevelopment, and specifically, and this will be to Amáda Márquez Simula, What do you do to promote new business in Columbia Heights and revitalize the large empty commercial spaces on Central Avenue and on 38th Street?
What I'm specifically doing as mayor, one of the things I do is I love to visit our local businesses. I use social media frequently, and so checking out our restaurants, stopping at our local printers, stopping at our office buildings, and just saying hi, kind of, having the smile of Columbia Heights stop in and ask how they're doing and how can the city help them more. Inviting members of our community and business owners I've invited to come to city council meetings when they have questions. And I've met with them and talked to them, but then said, it'd be great for you to come into the meeting and let the council hear from you as well, any questions or concerns you have. And so using social media to boost our businesses' awareness and also to continue networking outside of Columbia Heights.
Okay. And the next, the same question goes to Mike Ahrens. What will you do to promote new business in Columbia Heights and revitalize the large empty commercial spaces on Central and on 38th Street?
Well, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but what used to be Rainbow for quite a few years was rumored to be a Hy-Vee. A lot of people, including myself, was like, yes, we get a grocery store again, our own grocery store. And, due to circumstances, that plan was shut down, and it still sits empty and has been sitting empty for, a little over a decade now, just sitting there, and there's only two things in that entire strip that's, still in business. There's other businesses that, unfortunately, due to not just the city, but the state occasionally voting to take certain items out, and because of that, sales has gone down. I worked at one, and I will be honest, I left that job because favoritism.
Okay, same question. Cliff Johnson, what will you do to promote new business in Columbia Heights and revitalize empty commercial spaces on Central and 38th Street?
Thank you. My feelings for new business and stuff, I think if we address the fundamental problems we have as a city, including some of the rental issues and some of the other safety issues and things like that, and garbage and all these other things that give us a kind of a black eye in the metro area, I think if we were to get all that under control, businesses would want to come here. We really wouldn't have to attract any. I think I still would like to keep attracting businesses, but I think we have to make this a very desirable city for business to want to be in. Right now, we've got a lot of foundational problems that we need to work through. I think if we can fix those, it will make selling of the Columbia Heights for a business a lot easier in the future. And I think that would be my platform and the way I'd want to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to the next question that was submitted by the residents. And this relates to traffic. And again, there were a lot of questions that were related to traffic. And so this will start with Mike Ahrens. And specifically, the question is, some people in our community say that we have traffic problems. What do you think? And how would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation? Michael.
Yeah, depending on in what way you mean we have traffic issues. Do we have traffic issues on our main lanes of Central Avenue or University, or back roads are from Central to our houses or to the businesses? I think if it's pertaining to the back roads that lead to our houses, we need to fix those. And it's not just to our houses, some businesses as well. We need to fix those. There's potholes that could literally eat a car. And what do? We just patch it up and we're done. No, we need to do more than that. And, if we don't, it's going to cause more traffic issues. And, it could cost the city more money in repairing those cars. So we need to spend more money on properly fixing our streets so we don't have to deal with that.
Okay, same question to Cliff Johnson regarding traffic. How would you mitigate those concerns or change the situation?
Thank you. I think we got basically, I would think of as two basic safety issues, and one of them are our main thoroughfares, Central, University Avenue, and those have different answers than the rest of our city streets do. As far as Central is concerned, I mean, we're working with MnDOT now as a city to try and have some influence over how that particular roadway will be reconstructed. I would like to see, personally, no crossing of Central Avenue that isn't controlled by a light. I would like to see left-hand turn lanes just only, like you see many places. Because I live close to the McDonald's there in the Hilltop area, and there's a lot of accidents right there, and that's people trying to cross 4 lanes of traffic at once. As far as a local one, I'd like to see us hire more police officers. I know our police chief is trying to do his best job if he can because there's a shortage, but we need to really enforce the speeding limit within this city. Thank you.
And same question to Amáda, Márquez, Simula. How would you mitigate the traffic concerns or change the situation in Columbia Heights?
I'm currently working on a petition with other community members petitioning to bring awareness to MnDOT of our concerns for Central Avenue. And we've had multiple meetings this year. We met with them actually 2 or 3 weeks ago at the Dairy Queen right on Central, which was a great place to meet to see how actually loud and noisy it is. I've heard from many people that we don't just want a safer Central Avenue, but we want to enjoy it. We want to be able to go for a walk and not have so much traffic around us going so fast. So there are many ways that MnDOT is proposing that we can make these changes that are bringing in traffic calming measures. And then for our local roads, less uncontrolled intersections would help. And traffic calming measures such as bump outs and painted stop bars would help at our stop signs as well.
Okay, great. And so all three of you had that question, right? So we'll move on now. There were several submitted regarding diversity issues, and many people will say that kind of the amount of diversity in Columbia Heights is one of the assets to the community and why people move here. So specifically, and we'll start with Cliff Johnson on this one. What actions would be a priority for you to increase the participation and diversity of residents in Columbia Heights and to have them involved in shaping public policy and promoting democracy in the city?
Thank you. I guess as the mayor, I could use the pulpit to invite people and try and get as many people involved in the city government as they possibly can. And by government, I mean commissions and councils and running for mayor and all that stuff, and even involved within the city itself if they can feel they can offer the city through employment. That is pretty much the extent of what we can do is cheerlead people to get involved. I mean, it's very hard to do. I know that with the HOA, trying to get my people to come to the meetings and actually vote on something. We couldn't have a quorum the last time because people just don't get involved. And I'd really like to see a lot more people involved within the city. I think it would really help us as a city. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Same question to Amáda, Márquez, Simula. What would be your priority for increasing participation of a diversity of residents in Columbia Heights for shaping public policy here and promoting democracy within the city?
What ways I am reaching out and making our community's priorities is by being available, meeting people where they're at. I'm always in the parks, meeting people where they're at with their children, playing sports. I'm already hosting Zoom meetings with different cultural groups in our community. So I've met with our East African community multiple times, our Tibetan community, Native American community, and our Latino communities. I attend the senior center events and take painting classes so that I am a part of and working with and building connections with our senior community as well. I have attended Zoom classes with our teachers during the pandemic, and just the other day when I was door knocking, a little boy said, "I know you, you're the mayor, you were at my class." And the dad said, "No, she wasn't." Because what mayors go to a kid's class? But I said, "Oh, no, I was on his Zoom class." So I'm meeting out there to really make those connections.
Thank you. And same question to Mike Ahrens. What actions would be priority for you for increasing participation of diverse types of residents in Columbia Heights and shaping public policy to promote democracy within the city?
I fully, and how do I put this? I agree with what they said about bringing people together to vote on certain things together as a community. It doesn't matter, from what location and what have you. But I just try to be more involved amongst the community of everyone. That, no matter what, there's diversity, but we are all together. We're all in one city. We need to act like it. And we need to put our diversity aside and just come together. And, of course, vote on things that matter to us as the citizens of the city.
Okay, and with this next question, I know with the league we always like to kind of put a lighthearted question or a little bit not so policy-oriented question in here, and we did have several submitted. The one I will not ask you is, if Columbia Heights had a city song, what would it be and why? But the one I will ask you is, tell me something interesting about yourself, a little bit of trivia that community members may not know. And the first one on this one is Amáda, Márquez, Simula.
Well, I grew up in a musical home. My dad played bass guitar and played in bands pretty much my whole life. And I love polka music, and my dad was in a polka band in Wisconsin for many years. And I know how to play the accordion.
Okay, so maybe you could have answered the one about the city song. Anyway, let's go on then next to Mike Ahrens. So the question we're looking for an answer is, tell us something interesting about yourself that people may not know.
Well, the one thing that a lot of people don't know is because, certain things I keep personal. But, eventually, let's say I am elected and stuff like that. The one thing that people should know is, I grew up with loving family. My dad's side, is kind of iffy to say because the only person I have contact with most of the time is my grandmother. But on my mom's side, grew up being loved. Certain things came to light and over the last few years. But the one thing that I kept private until now is the fact that I have a 2-year-old that just became 2 on Friday, and I've made some bad decisions in my life, but since she was born, I think and hope that I've made better decisions to pass on to everyone else.
Good. Okay, same question. Cliff Johnson, tell us something interesting about yourself.
Thank you. I wrestled all through high school. Had a great coach, Al Augie. He's still with us, and he's still a great guy. I play hockey 3-4 times a week usually. I really am into motorcycles. I probably own 30 of them. I work on them. I design them. I customize them. That's what I do for my hobby. And that's probably the most interesting things. The rest of them might not be so interesting. Thank you.
Okay, so
Teach me.
now that I've given you kind of an easy one, lighthearted, we'll go to kind of a tougher one here. There were several questions related to the economy, recession, where things are at financially with the city and with our country as a whole. I know we even had a question submitted by a single mom who talks about how difficult it is to go from paycheck to paycheck. And I know that you hear these issues all the time within the city, and it's the whole country these days. Anyway, this one relates to city services, and inflation and supply chain demands have substantially increased costs of everything. And there's also a tight labor market, and that's elevating the wage demands. And so looking at some of these tougher issues ahead for the city, and we'll start this time with Mike Ahrens. Would you support raising taxes as it might be necessary to maintain the city's existing level of services and staff? And if not raising taxes, your other option is basically what would you cut in the city to help keep taxes level? Mike Ahrens.
Would I raise taxes like property taxes or taxes on businesses? That's two separate issues right there. And some people would say it's the same to a degree, yes and no. Would I raise taxes? No. Would I cut certain things out of the budget? Yes. And there's things that, when I ran for city council back in 2014, we voted to build a new library. Don't get me wrong, it looks beautiful, but did we absolutely need it? Probably not. Maybe that money could have gone to fixing our roads then. I would not raise taxes and probably cut something out of the budget, maybe. But the issue is we need to bring our people back to work, because I believe the more people to work, the more taxes are being deducted from everyone equally, and it will still even out.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Cliff Johnson then, and I'll kind of shorten up here. But as far as raising taxes for the city to maintain the current level, or cutting the taxes here in order to cutting services in order to not raise taxes. What's your answer, Cliff Johnson?
Thank you. My last resort would be to raise taxes. I think everybody probably would agree on that. I think we need a better understanding of where our money is going and who's paying for what and who is costing the city the most money that's not being paid back, so to speak. An example is licensing for rental properties. I think it's way under. It should be charged more to have a license, as far as I'm concerned. I talked with the chief about it, and some of these instances where they got to go out and they got to notify all these people, it's a money-losing operation. People and companies that are abusing the system need to pay more. The good people, we need to reward them, because if we don't have to spend any money to chase them down, that's money saved we can use for other things. So I'd like to see a better inventory of how we're spending our money before we make that decision. Thank you.
That same question to Amáda, Márquez, Simula. So basically, would you support raising taxes to maintain the city's existing level of services? Or if not, what areas would you cut to keep taxes level?
I would like us to be as creative as possible in any ways that we could continue to have the same services that we already have. I would very much not want to cut any of our services. I feel like our staff operates on a very lean budget as it is. And so there's ways to apply for grants. There's other creative opportunities that maybe we can look at. But in the end, I would definitely not want to cut services. So I would have to then reluctantly have to raise taxes.
Okay, and I believe all three of you have answered that one, correct? So we'll go into the closing comments here, and this is also given 60 seconds. So to continue with our rotation, the first one will be Cliff Johnson.
Closing statement?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to again thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and also the voters of Columbia Heights for investing their time and interest in this campaign. I'd like to let people know that I'm a totally independent candidate. I belong to no political parties and answer only to the residents of Columbia Heights. I'm a hardworking and very engaged person. If I'm fortunate enough to get your vote, I promise to work diligently on behalf of the residents by improving our vendor services, such as garbage, recycling, etc., improve public safety within the city, including traffic safety, and strengthening the city's management of residential rental properties. I invest very little time on branding myself, as you can probably tell, and actually uncomfortable with self-promotion, even though I understand it is necessary for running for office. I am authentic. What you see is what you get. I promise to make my position a top priority in my life. I hope during this forum the voters have had a better understanding of who I am and what I'm about and what my priorities are. I think you have a clear choice between me and my opponents. Thank you.
And then for closing statement, next up is Amáda, Márquez, Simula.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this again. I appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure. Before I was elected, I was very involved as a community organizer and volunteer, and it is a lot of effort to run for office. And a lot of people I talk to are disillusioned with the government, and they think their vote doesn't count. They feel that it won't matter anyway. But a lot of people don't realize that anyone who runs for this office, we are doing it because we believe in the system. We believe in the hope that democracy does work. I work more than 40 hours a week as the mayor. I don't have an assistant on staff, and I'm paid $6.63 an hour, plus health benefits, to do this position because I believe in it and I believe in taking care of our community. In fact, I gave up my paid position last year to make sure I had time to do this. My name is Amáda Márquez Simula. I would be proud to earn your vote and to continue serving as the mayor of Columbia Heights.
Thank you. And our final candidate for closing statements is Mike Ahrens.
I would like to finally say thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to be here. It has been a learning curve. It's been an honor to actually see these two wonderful individuals in person and not just, posting on Twitter and Facebook and what have you. Like Mr. Johnson said, I'm self-promoting. I don't have any signs, even though it would be nice to have at least one. But, I will dedicate every waking moment that I have to serve this community that I grew to love. Excuse me. That I grew to love. Try to help keep it safer, make it more safer, and keep it safer, and bring prosperity to the city that we all love.
Great. So then just to wrap up, I want to thank the three candidates. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for updating the voters about the issues in Columbia Heights here. And thanks to the viewers also for those 101 questions, which were awesome. Thanks for becoming informed voters. And as we move through this election season, look to the website at the League of Women Voters. It's LWV ABC League of Women Voters of Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids, Minnesota.org, as well as through the city's YouTube and city channel. And if you need to register to vote or update your registration, you can do that online. And it's an easy website. It's mnvotes.org, so mnvotes.org. And it'll let you know where to go to vote and give you a sample ballot. Reminder, the primary election is on August 9th, and the three candidates will be narrowed down to two, and the two candidates will appear on the general election ballot in November. So with that, thank you and good evening.
Thank you.